Life is good. But it can be better.
As the credits roll in Wonder Woman 1984, the 2.5-hour conditioner sequel to the 2.5-hour shampoo original, all I could think about was how messy, sloppy, and downright unfocused these superhero films have gotten. Back in the old days of the mid-2000s, before your cinematic universes, your Avengers, your Batmans v Supermans, and even before they thought this was a good idea.
You think you're the first? Think I got this job because I'm fat and jolly?
You had a little series of films directed by Mr. Sam Raimi. You may have heard of them. It's the Spidey Man trilogy. Now, a more perfect set of films about superheroics have yet to be crafted that's better than those ones. Yeah, I'm even including Spider-Man 3 in that. It's marvelous, and that was an intentional pun.
Peter Parker. Peter.
The beauty of the Raimi trilogy is that when it went dark, it went dark.
You're a hack!
But overall, that fun, light-hearted tone that studios have been trying to capture this past decade, it was perfectly executed in 2002 with this. Perfection. Now, I didn't just take talking about Wonder Woman as an excuse to bring up far superior films. WW 1984 has a lot in common with Spider-Man 2 specifically. And while I do give a lot of credit to Patty Jenkins for trying to do something different, I think she threw too many balls up in the air and only caught a few. So let's look at some of the lessons Spider-Man 2 teaches us about good filmmaking and how those lessons should be applied.
Give you $50.
I could get more than that on eBay.
All right, 100. Miss Brandt, give this man his money and throw in a bar of soap.
I'll beat this point well into my grave, but when it comes to the big budget movies, often it's not just the special effects that are big. It's the emotions. The laughing is louder, the crying is uglier. It's a big old soap opera in spandex. All this to say, as an audience, we need to know what the main character wants.
What do you wish for?
The opening scene of Spider-Man 2 sets up Peter Parker's intentions and obstacles perfectly. He wants to keep his job delivering pizza.
You're a nice guy, but you're just not dependable. This is your last chance.
But his obstacle is he gotta put on the spandex and save some kids.
Whoa! He stole that guy's pizza!
AKA, he has to be Spider-Man. Why does he have to be Spider-Man? Hey, play the clip.
With great power comes great responsibility.
So right away, you know what the movie is about. Peter having to choose between a normal life or being Spider-Man. With Wonder Woman, it starts with a flashback to Themyscira, just so Connie Nielsen and Robin Wright can cut a sweet paycheck for a day of work. And we see them doing their version of the Olympics. Or maybe it's just a big triathlon, I don't know. Anyway, the whole point of the sequence is that little baby Diana is smoking these fools, and then she falls off her horse, and then she cuts through the map to get back on her horse, and she's like this close to winning, but then Robin Wright's all like, nah mate, you can't win by cheating, like, you aren't ready to win, the only truth is the truth, and all that shite. The opening is just this long, drawn-out effects extravaganza that ends with a character blatantly explaining the point of the film. I don't begrudge Jenkins for wanting to go back to Themyscira and have this big scene. It was a big highlight of that first movie. But I think it cuts in the way of the message, which try though the film may to complicate it with terrible dialogue.
That is the truth. That is the only truth, and truth is all there is.
Losing is okay, as long as you can accept it. I think that message would have been more powerful if it focused on modern day Diana still not fully accepting Trevor's death, which the film also does in a much more subtle way, kind of negating the need for that opening sequence. Which brings me to my next point.
Good morning. Hi. Thank you.
If we can cut that opening sequence, then I think we can also cut Kristen Wiig's Cheetah. I think Wiig's wonderfully talented, but they did her dirty here by giving her the most stereotypical villain origin story. Shy, nerdy, glasses-wearing smart person that comes into contact with something powerful and becomes a confident superpower person. Gee, where have I seen that before? Oh yeah, I think it's just played out and frankly boring to watch. Wig's character is treated with no real respect. She's given a couple of scenes where she's annoying, a scene where she gets assaulted, a scene where she's wooed by sleazeball Max Lord, a scene where she can walk in heels, a scene where she's the belle of the ball, a scene where she beats up her former abuser, and a scene where she defends this Trump-looking genie boy and is willing to beat up Wonder Woman for him. She keeps yelling at Diana that she's sick of being treated like she's stupid.
Think nobody me. I couldn't possibly handle it. No, Barbara, that's not what I'm saying.
But she is kinda stupid. She ultimately brings nothing to the film and was only there because Wonder Woman couldn't fight the Trump man. That's not a superhero finale. She's gotta fight the cat's reject. She's gotta fight the big cat. If you've seen Spider-Man 2, you know that the script, written by Alvin Sargent, is so airtight. Everything fits together like a jigsaw. It's the kind of writing you get when a singular voice sits down and tells a story from start to finish. An example that's simple but I've always loved is when Peter is having dinner with Otto Octavius and his wife, and as they're discussing Peter's love life, Otto suggests reading poetry, as he did for his wife.
You want to get a woman to fall in love with you? Feed her poetry. Poetry.
Later on in the film, he sees Mary Jane at a party and tries to woo her with said poetry before she cuts him off entirely and says what she wants from him is for him to be there for her.
After all these years, he's nothing to me but an empty seat.
AKA the thing he can't do because he's Spider-Man. Everything comes back to the theme of the story, and that little poetry piece is like a brushstroke you see on a professional painter's canvas. It's small, but it ties the whole thing together in more ways than one. Now, while I think Cheetah is filler, I think her relationship with Diana, well, the idea of it anyway, is an important one, and I think Cheetah should be fused with Max Lord to make a new character called
You can own a piece of the most lucrative industry in the world.
Pedro Pascal is wonderful. I could watch him in anything. Anything. He was really superb here. I don't think the film was giving him great material like Alfred Molina was getting on Spidey 2, but his performance totally made up for that. He's got that Trump/Jordan Belfort look, and even some of those same TV personality quirks.
Life is good, but it can be better.
But it's his relationship with his son that makes the character for me. It felt so sincere, and when he realizes the error of his ways, renounces his wish that he was basically the genie. Yes, this film's got wishes. Yeah, it's complicated, but also not complicated. And runs to save his son. His admittance that he's not a great guy and his only real wish is that his son can forgive him.
I don't need you to make me proud. I already love you, Daddy.
Man, bring a bucket and a mop for these wet-ass cheeks. Jenkins went full Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 on me, and it worked like a charm. But does that mean Lord is perfect? No, sir. I think what he's missing, and I'm sure you already guessed it, is that personal relationship with our main character. Is this essential? No, but does it work wonders?
Yes.
Peter gives up being Spider-Man so he can live his life, and Otto turns to crime so he can finally finish his fusion reactor. Peter realizes that Uncle Ben was right, and even though it's difficult, he has to make a choice. He has to be Spider-Man because it's right. Peter then has to convince Otto to make the right choice as well, and as an audience member, we feel the weight of his words because we've seen him make that journey, and we totally buy that with just the power of his words, Spider-Man can save the world, a true hero. I'm happy that Patty Jenkins understands this concept as well, as the finale of her film also focuses on Diana telling not just Lord, but the entire world to renounce their wish, to give up the thing they want the most. I just think it could have all been enhanced if Lord and Diana could have stricken a friendship early on and maybe show Diana being tempted by the idea of having a normal life with Steve. But as she has that life, she sees that Max has gone too far and she has to give up the dream she's wanted for so long in order to do what's right and convince her friend of that same idea. I think that would have made for a tighter and more well-developed script, and we get to see more of Pascal as Lord. And we also wouldn't have to see that stupid fight scene between Tom Hooper's cats and the Gold Power Ranger. So Wonder Woman 1984 is this complicated beast. I think Jenkins more than anything wants to make a total throwback to older superhero fare. Diana's introduction was incredibly reminiscent of Reeve's Superman, and it was the first time I felt like I was seeing Jenkins' real interpretation of the Wonder Woman character. I think she also has a lot of ideas, and that's why you see Cheetah and Max Lord and the Amazonians and Steve Trevor thrown in as well, because ultimately the first one did well and she wants to give her audience what they want too. The beauty of the Raimi trilogy is that you could tell he was only interested in how to tell the best story with the tools he was given. They took Octavius and turned him into a character that is so iconic, even to this day. They took the idea of Spider-Man giving up his powers and gave it its due. They focused on the internal struggles of the main character first and foremost. Wonder Woman 1984 presents a new era for superhero films, I think. One where directors can explore more ideas in new ways and not feel so begrudged to please people. I think somewhere along the line though, Jenkins lost sight of her story and started seeing only in ideas, fragments of stories. Here's a bunch of great scenes, let's make a movie. But a collection of scenes together don't make a movie. You want to know how to make a great movie? Read poetry.
Day by day he gazed upon her.